So I've been really asking the team to think about, okay, what is this going to look like in September? What is this going to look like? And you came in with your ideation of like, okay, this is that, this is the post-pandemic back to the future. And you kind of named it. And it's like, okay, let's talk about that now. Because we have leaders out here. We have coaches. There's not a playbook for this back to the future. There is not. What trends are you seeing? And what are you doing with your clients right now to help them navigate this time? And I know you've got some good thoughts on that. So
something that you just said triggered to me about facilitation too, is, and it is this notion of you've got to have a construct or a context. Yeah. That's what I do all the time, is because you can't there has to be the sandbox to play in. I need I need guardrails. Absolutely. And you've got to give your client guardrails. And the guardrails are like, okay, we're going to do a strategy session or we're going to do a team development. But you still have to give them that construct, like Tuckman's model, which for the audience, if Tuckman's model is a team development model about forming, storming, norming, and performing. And it's been around forever, but that's what we're talking about when we talk about Tuckman's model. So I think it's that construct. I think, to your point, what's the construct for post-pandemic? Yeah. I think it's, to me, and I think it's one of the things we've talked about in Clubhouse, and we talked about it in team development, and it keeps coming back to me is what I call the RISE model, right? With the 4 domains.
Why don't you share what those are?
So it's the 4 domains of the Clifton Strengths Finder, right? It's relationship building, influencing, which to me also includes information, because communication, you can't influence without communication. And then strategic thinking and execution. And they're in that order deliberately. And this is and what I've used for years and what I've seen, and to me, what makes sense is you can't get to execution without doing the right things, which is where strategic thinking comes in, right? We've thought through, we've done the analysis, we understand what the problem is, we've looked at the options, and this is the direction we're going. You can't get to a good strategy if you don't share information and people don't bring the information out, right? You can't get to ideas. You can't understand that if you're not communicating and sharing information. But people don't share information if they don't trust you and you don't build the relationship. And so that, to me, is, as you look at, when I coach leaders and I work with teams, and especially when teams are early on, right? So if they're a new team, it's a new leader, or the team it's in the forming stage in the Tuckman model, which, right?
Right now is what we have a lot of that going on, because everybody's coming back and there's new leaders, people have left. So
it's a whole new situation.
Yeah.
We haven't done a hybrid workforce before. So even though I may be on the same team with the same leader and the same people, we're still back to the forming stage because we don't know how this is going to work. Who's going to be in the office what days? How do we work with each other when some people are vaccinated and some people may not be? Mm-hmm. I mean, you've got to rebuild trust, and you've got to understand how we work together. And that requires, first and foremost, focusing. You start at the I. We're focusing on relationship. And to me, and this is where Strength Finder is such a great tool, the way to focus on relationships, you start first with language. And I always say, if you go to a foreign country, what's the easiest way to get along? The language, or at least you know how to ask where the bathroom is, or I always know how to ask for a beer.